I'm Shaun Reynolds.
And I'm Rachael Reynolds.
And welcome to What Was I Made For?
The podcast about doing what you love and prioritising your happiness.
While we aim to inspire, motivate and entertain you, please note that we're not licensed therapists or certified experts.
So if you're considering major life decisions like starting a travelling circus or quitting your job to become a professional beekeeper, maybe get a second opinion.
Enjoy the show.
See, I just do what I want, do what I love. I don't want to stop, don't want to grow up. Just me being me, don't follow the crowd. Don't be a sheep, look at me now. But now it's time to make more, create more. Looking at the points, cause it's time to take score. Feeling like I'm grown now that I can face more. Got one question, what was I made for?
Welcome back to What Was I Made For? This week we are joined by the incredible Alto Key.
With 1.5 million followers on TikTok and 300,000 on Instagram, Alto Key shares his remarkable journey to becoming a successful musician, utilising the power of social media.
We dive deep into the importance of consistency, staying adaptable and exploring side hustles to keep your creative dreams alive.
He also opens up about mental health and body dysmorphia, themes he tackles in his new single, Take What I Can Get.
This conversation offers inspiration to anyone chasing a career in music and some practical tips about how to build a following online.
So let's get stuck in. Here is Alto Key. Alto Key.
Hello.
Now, first of all,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
what do you want to be referred to as that is your stage name? Do we call you Alto Key in this?
My actual name is Keian, Keian.
Okay.
But that's hard to spell.
Keian.
Yeah, most Keians are just
seen
Kian.
Yeah, I've never seen it spelled like that.
In one hand, I was like, oh, that'd be quite a unique artist name, wouldn't it? But on the other hand, I was like, do I want people to be able to actually search for me on Google? So
Yeah.
I went for whatever was free on social media. A persona, a moniker, if you will.
Yeah.
And it was available everywhere, social media handles. It's kind of a pun because it's like an alto key, like from a singing point of view. It's A, so it's at the top of everyone's music libraries.
It's about to say that.
It's so multi-layered, guys.
I really shot myself in the foot with S.
We're going to have to change your name.
Yeah, exactly.
What can we
Yeah.
call you?
Yeah, and he's an A. Or just maybe take the SH off.
Orn Reynolds. There we go. So what do your friends call you? Like, silly question, but are you key into them?
I know, like not in music or career sort of stuff, which call me Keian, but honestly, a lot of people I work with in the music industry, they either don't know my name or they've forgotten it because I just go with it and they just go, oh, hi, Alto, as if Key is my surname.
How funny.
Mr. Key. So I just go with it and I'm like, that's funny, makes me laugh.
Oh my God, that's brilliant. Yeah, because I did say to Shaun, I was like, Alto Key is who we're interviewing. Is that, like, what do I call him? And you were like, just call him Keian. I was like, what if he walks through the door and he's like, no, it's Alto.
It's Alto to you, I don't know you.
Yeah, you're not a friend. Okay,
yeah, I would have
Keian.
just been a diva and stormed out.
Yeah.
I would have just stormed out, guys.
Yeah.
No,
Brilliant. And drink of choice, Keian,
Yeah, what was
was
your drink of choice?
black coffee. That sounds very because I'm a basic guy. But probably also because I'm on a musician diet and it's low in sugar. So
Okay.
to make it not really bitter, add some sweetener.
Sure.
Yeah, nice.
Sure.
But yeah, there probably are more interesting drinks out there. More interesting drinks are
There
available.
absolutely are. And to all our listeners, another boring choice for a drink.
Yeah, another coffee. We need to do these in the evening. I feel like
We
they
should.
get more.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. What would it have been if we were recording, say, at 8 p.m?
Well, I feel like a go-to sort of cocktail or something.
Yeah.
It depends how naughty we're being. But yeah, like
Very.
We're very naughty. It'd
Yeah.
be like a pina colada.
Oh, milky.
Very milky. Yeah. But if I'm on like the sort of lower calorie end of the cocktail spectrum, probably just like some sort of shot of something.
Nice.
Some
Ah.
Diet
No,
Coke,
straight to the point.
Yeah.
We definitely need a late night version of
Absolutely.
this. We invite all our guests
The
back.
after dark version.
Yes, yes.
Or just a live version.
Yeah,
Do
I love
in
it.
a-
I love
in a
it.
venue.
Keian, we'd like to start our podcast episodes by taking you all the way back and asking, what did little Keian, little mini Alto Key, want to be?
Yeah, I've always wanted to do music. Maybe since I was like 13 or 14. And I think the first thing I got was acoustic guitar from some cheap place that probably didn't work very well. And
Did you buy it yourself, or was it like a gift from family?
I don't remember, if I'm honest. My family are really not musical at all.
Yeah.
My gran is musical. She used to play violin, and I guess she encouraged it maybe a little bit 'cause she was like in that space. But my parents don't play an instrument. My sister doesn't play an instrument. So I'm very like a bit of the odd one out in the family, I think. And then at school, they used to have those keyboards. You know the ones I'm talking about, the ones where you can press a button on it and it goes DJ.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it
One,
plays all those sounds.
two.
Yeah, you know the one.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I really fell in love with it. The guitar was just me strumming, probably didn't really know what I was doing. But then I really kind of just started teaching myself songs on the keyboards. I used to be a bit of a hermit and go to like the piano room separately at school at lunchtime and just play on it and learn different things, which is a bit sad and lonely now thinking about it. I was like all the other kids playing, I'm just indoors playing on my sad piano. But I think that's where I really got into it, was just doing that. And eventually I got one of those really rubbish little synthesizers where it's got like 5 keys on it or something, and you could only play a chord with the left hand and it'll play an instrumental thing, and the right hand you can play a melody. And I guess from that I just kind of really got more and more into it. And I think what I really, really liked doing was when I realised, I can actually attempt to sing over this thing. Because, I hadn't really been taught singing or anything like that, but I started singing over it, and I was really, really bad at first.
Really?
And I'm slightly better than bad now. It's been a long journey to get there.
But is that all self-taught then?
I taught myself piano for quite a while. I did get some lessons right towards the end of school, maybe when I was like 17 or 18. And that was also just to kind of learn a bit more of the theory and all that sort of stuff. I did technically do an AS level in music, which is kind of like the education level, the sort of the towards the end of school. And I realised I didn't want to study it formally, because there was a lot of extra stuff you have to do with that. And it felt a bit like risky. Oh God, if I fail this performance, I suddenly could get a really bad grade overall, and I won't be able to actually study this sort of thing properly. So I kind of always learnt it and did it as more passion project and sort of personal
like
interest.
hobby kind of thing.
Yeah. So I wouldn't have thought about studying it like at university at the time.
Right.
Even though now I look back at it, I was like, I should have just done that.
Were you quite academic as well then?
Yes, I was quite like good at other things. Like I was really good at maths.
Okay.
So I ended up studying that at university, because I was kind of like, do what you know. And every time I mention that, people are like, oh, well, maths and music are supposed to go together apparently. But to be honest, I just like followed it because I was like, I guess I'm kind of good at logic sort of stuff. But then I feel like with the music side, I was still doing it on the side, but I really wasn't doing it much at uni. But as soon as I was out of that space and I was like, I'm actually employed now and I'm doing a job, it really ramped back up again. And I really went all in with it on the side.
So do you remember if any of your teachers at school, when you were sort of sat in the keyboard room as a choice, do you remember if any of them were like, Keian, you're really good at this?
I don't think they were like, you're really good at this. But I remember my music teacher at school, he was like, I'll leave it open for you a bit longer because I know you like doing that. It sounds very sad, but
That's
like
so
the
sweet.
sad boy playing his piano. But I think he was more. He could see that I really enjoyed it,
Yeah.
and I really sort of got into it. And I used to like pick up song books of like other artists, like Coldplay and things, and just like, how do you play that song, or how do you play this song? And I think that's kind of where you start to get into it, is when you're doing it more for the fun rather than like, shall I do this scale, or shall I, it's when you're actually just enjoying singing and playing songs, just to be like, hey, I know this popular song that everybody knows.
So when you were a child doing these things, music as a hobby, there was never really a time when you thought this would be your career, or it was always just you were doing it because that's something you just enjoyed doing. It was never like, I want to do this for the rest of my life.
No, I think like my family are very pragmatic, so they didn't really push me in that direction. I mean, it's got to come from within anyway. I guess because I was in that space as well, I wasn't really seeing it as like, how would I do that? I mean, it's more just I enjoyed doing it, and then I followed other things. But it's more when I got out of uni and I started doing a job in like tech, I was like, oh, I really don't necessarily massively enjoy what I'm doing, but I do still enjoy doing the music. I wonder how I would get into that, and then it kind of you just take it one step at a time, isn't it? It's like a very long journey.
So how, I mean, obviously, yeah, without going into every single little step. But
well, the first day.
Yeah, day one. But what does that look like? Because the other side of our audience are grown-ups who have gone down the route of maybe not pursuing their hobby or their dream as their career, but it's sort of that little itch that they always want to scratch. So what did that look like for you when you were in your job, but you went, I kind of want to still do music on the side?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I did was started writing my own songs, like original songs. And I guess where I was, I don't say lucky, but where like it is good to have that main source of income is it allowed me to then flesh it out more than just recording into my phone. I had a bit of extra money to pay for session musicians on tracks and things like that, or get it properly produced. And then you just sort of like write songs, and the first ones you write are just terrible.
Yeah.
You know about that, Shaun, don't you?
Wow, cheers, Ray. Didn't have to be so vicious with that remark.
We've all heard the first.
She has heard the songs. We're not going to ever play them. They'll never see the light of day. I'm sure yours are buried down deep as well.
Oh yeah, it's more also the fact that there was just basic things like not in pitch. It was like that's some basic check marks to be like, does it sound good? No. Is it in pitch? No. But at the time, again, I was just like having fun with it. I didn't really think anything would happen with it. I set up everything as if it could happen. Like I picked an artist name, registered a website, got all the social media stuff, and I just started posting online. Didn't think anyone would see it because to me it was like, oh, I'm not going to get 10 Instagram followers, guys. It's just gonna be like, but it's just you sort of follow what you enjoy, and then you realise as the more you do that sort of thing, people just kind of naturally gravitate to what you're doing because they're like, I want to see what that guy's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you remember the point where you went, I don't have to do my job anymore?
Yeah, when I started getting like royalties from different songs I've released and people reach out to me for opportunities, I was like, oh, there is actually money to be made with this sort of thing. It's not just you just throw money at this thing. But that was after I'd lost and invested, I don't want to say lost, but I'd invested a lot of money into my career without making any money. Like it was just like over time, over a few years, it would have been thousands of pounds of my own income from my other job that I've just put into this passion project without expecting anything to come out of it. But it's only after you snowball with it for a while that did I start seeing a return. So I've always put my fingers in a lot of pies with the music career. So if we're talking about like what I do now, I do a bit of like playlist curation. So people submit to go on playlists, and I grow playlists and artists want to be on them. So there's like some kind of benefit there as well because they get exposure.
Is that mainly on Spotify?
That would be on Spotify
everything?
playlists, and then that'd be through things like Submit Hub and all that sort of thing. Then obviously my own original music generates royalties as well, but then also there's an investment there because I have to like pay for production and all this other stuff. And then I do like random social media things as well, from stupid videos outside of my music career, but also just like general like what's called UGC content. So like generate the way you sort of make videos for companies to use.
Okay.
And they might post it on their own channels, so that's like separate to like I wouldn't put it on my music career channel. So I've done a lot in the social media space, I guess is what I'm saying. So you don't have to just be like, here's a person with piano, therefore you have a living. It's got to be, I think, a lot of different things that most people I know in the music industry at least have 3 or 4 things they've got going on at the same time. It's impossible to just do one, I think.
What do you do now, other than the stuff
now?
we've already mentioned?
So I obviously have my original artist project, but it's really hard to monetize that to a massive extent, other than like royalties from different streaming platforms. Sometimes, very, very infrequently, but it is good when it happens, get a song in like a TV show and then you get royalties from that. And then away from like directly doing my own music, I obviously got my social media. So that might be sponsorships from companies who want to promote like a product, or they might want to perhaps use my image and voice to film them UGC content, so I can make their own ads for something. And usually I'll only really accept sponsorships where I feel like it's a good match to like something I'd actually want to promote, because I don't want to just promote something which just I don't believe in. Otherwise people will look at me and be like, who's that guy peddling those random...
They're like, Alto Key, oh yeah, that sellout guy.
Yeah, exactly.
The guy that peddles everything.
I think it's important, because otherwise it's just people lose trust in what you're doing. So, but obviously at the same time I've got to balance that with I need to like earn a living.
Yeah.
So I do some sponsorships there. And then I sort of touched on doing playlisting and making playlists on Spotify, and then people submit to go on those playlists for exposure. And I can also give people feedback about their song in terms of mix, or like reviewing their songs. So, and that's also been a really great way to like network with other artists. A lot of the people I've met in the music industry have been artists who've submitted to me, and I'm like, I really like your stuff, can we work together on something else?
That's good.
So yeah, that's been great. And then there's just like random other side hustles. There's just like I make random satisfying videos on another TikTok account for no reason. I've been trying TikTok Shop recently and just seeing how that goes. So I think one thing I've always done throughout my career is I'm never too proud to be like, no, I want to try something else now. Like, you got to keep trying different things, seeing what works, what doesn't work.
I love that.
You can't just keep committing and throwing time at something that's not working, but you've got to give everything a try. Because if I hadn't, as like the biggest example I probably have is if I hadn't tried doing like TikTok, then I wouldn't have blown up when that was happening. When that app was growing a lot during the sort of COVID period. And I've like I was telling you guys about the plans I've got for later in the year. Then you'll be able to hear, you've heard it direct from the horse's mouth. You see if it works or it doesn't work. You see how far I get with it, and then if I give up with it, then you'll know it didn't work.
But if
it does work, you'll be like, genius.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he gave us the exclusive on our podcast.
Will we pushing this episode? Guys, don't forget.
Remember that episode we had? Well,
do you know what the irony is though? Is the thing that I think people maybe see as a negative as being a self-employed person in the arts is actually the luxury, which is time. So when you're not having to clock in at a certain time and finish a certain amount of tasks and then clock out at a certain time, and then you've got your home responsibilities of making dinner and walking the dog or whatever else. When you do decide to go self-employed, yes, there might be time where you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? But because you have that time, someone like you, I think, has utilised it brilliantly by going, okay, what else? Like, I've got time. So
what other tools are there available?
Yeah.
Like you are the only person I know that. I mean, I know there's loads of people doing it, but the only person I know that uses Submit Hub. And do you use Groover and all those places?
I'm on Playlist Push, Groover,
Submit
Hub.
So you're the only one that I know that's actually been bothered to take the time and do that as another side hustle. I think it's a great tool that not many people utilise.
Yeah. But then if one day my meta ads that grow the playlist stop working, then I would move on to the next thing. And that's the thing. Like, I'm not too proud to like try different things out. Like, I might even look at if money gets too tight, I would happily go get a part-time job on the side. For me, it's always just been about still following what I love. Where I didn't have the balance right was when I was doing literally a 9 to 5 Monday. I mean, and Shaun will tell you, because we've been trying to get something scheduled in for ages. It's hard if you've got Monday to Friday.
Yeah, you're a tricky man to track down midweek.
Yeah, 9 to 5 on Monday to Friday, it eliminates so much opportunities for the music industry. So that's where like I would happily go get a part-time job, if it meant that if it made sense money-wise. Like, for me, I think you've got to always balance up is the value I'm getting from this thing. Like, you also have to have fun as well, but you have to also think about the money side of it as well. That's where any music industry person I worked with, there's always things I don't always want to do. I'm sure there's things where that you might produce or mix a song where like, it's not my favourite.
Absolutely right.
But you have to take a bit of there's good with the bad. Like, you can't just be like super. I mean, obviously the ideal situation is you get to the really fun stuff and you get to do that and monetize it, but most people I know, there's always a balancing act of like all these different things you're doing.
100%.
Yeah.
I think pride is an interesting point though. I think that comes with the job. It's very easy to feel too proud to like, especially if you've had success, especially if you've had some success, and you know Jennifer Aniston shared your story. Like, I shouldn't have to get a part-time job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be a very easy thought to have.
Yeah.
But I love that you're just like, I'll just do whatever needs to be done.
I do think as well the music industry really doesn't do this well, that they sort of peddle a certain idea as to what a successful artist is. You see the top 0.1% who have the massive careers, and you know that would be great to have. I'm sure any of us would click the fingers and be like, yes, I would definitely do that. But there's more than one way to make a living as a musician. You don't have to be a massive touring artist doing all these different things, you know, because there's downsides to that. You know, even the people who are like the most successful, they've got their own stresses, they've got their own kind of like, well, maybe they can't see their family as much, or so there's always ups and downs to these things. So I've always honestly just gone on, what do I enjoy in life, what do I want to do, how do I get there, whilst doing a few things that maybe I don't want to do. And that's, to me, has always been the formula for like my success, is not like trying to like copy the music industry recipe of like, oh no, to be a successful artist we're looking for this to be ticked, this to be ticked, this to be ticked, and if you're not in that, you're a failure. And like I feel like there's a lot of that in the music industry. People want to put you down, and you got to kind of believe in what you're doing and put yourself in the positive mindset, but I can do this, but how do I get there?
Yeah.
And also, it's kind of always comes about, like, I don't know if you found this, like, you learn quickly who your friends are in the industry, because people will see someone with some success and they're like, I want to jump on that. And then the next person comes along, want to jump on that. So I think you make your friends in the music industry, and you try to not screw them over and try to be like a good friend to them. They want help, you try to help them out.
Yeah.
So for me, the opportunities I've got tend to be from maybe slightly longer term collaborators, rather than it being like, here was the one person who just came along at one round time and was like, I want to give you a deal now, but tomorrow I'm not going to work with you again. So you find out who your friends are, nurture those relationships and work with those people and stick with good people.
Yeah. And then obviously when we touch upon this quite often actually in this podcast, which is the darker side of social media, and something that I think a lot of younger people who maybe aren't mentally as ready as they think they are to put themselves out there, because I'm assuming that when you have 1.5 million followers on TikTok, there's probably
People have got stuff to say.
Yeah. Have you experienced?
I've never been. No one's come up to me in the street and punched me.
Well,
so
that's
to
good.
me, I take that as success.
That's a win. Yeah.
So it stays online.
It stays online. No, I think. Yeah, I mean, people have said everything about me. I know all of my. You know, when you get all your insecurities, people have said those things and like, oh yeah, my eyes are a little bit close together actually, now you mention it. So you get anyone, people will just pick anything and they'll say it about you, but you have to sort of learn that it's kind of their own insecurities they're projecting. You do have to have a bit of a tough skin for it, which sucks, but I guess it's a public space, so therefore people feel like they can comment on that thing.
Yeah.
It's weird psychologically, because people wouldn't probably come up to you in the street and say it, but online,
it's a public space with no repercussions. That's the issue.
Yeah. It's definitely had an effect on me. Like, I've made changes to my appearance. I've worked on my fitness. There's a lot of things where I've kind of sort of seen what I think, you know, the music industry is looking for a certain aesthetic maybe, and maybe I've been slightly prey to being like, oh, maybe I should try to follow that a little bit.
Right.
Especially social media is so visual. It's like, it is very unfortunate, but there's times where I've posted one video where I don't look as attractive in one video, and it'll get less engagement than one where I do get more engagement, because cause people, and it'll be like I'll post a song about, like, I can post a song where it's like a heartfelt song about something, and I'll get a comment which is like, oh, your hair's looking good in this video, isn't it? It's like completely irrelevant to the actual video. But that is like, it's a horrible thing, but it's kind of like you learn to realize that it's a very visual media. So people are going to comment on your appearance. They are going to comment on, have you put on weight since this amount of time? And it shouldn't be like that. But when I've kind of at least sort of understood that's what the relationship is like, you can learn to, switch off from it and recognise, as you said, if you get hate comments, realise them for what they are. It's like people's own insecurities, or they don't know, they just don't like what you're doing and they want to say something they think that can be hurtful. But also, I think just it's kind of motivate. I mean, I guess I don't know if it's a good thing. You guys can tell me it's a good thing, but it's motivated me to maybe get a bit fitter. Like, maybe there's some benefits.
Well, getting fitter, never a bad thing, I
it's
suppose.
never.
Yeah, but I mean, it's probably for the wrong reasons, I suppose, isn't it? But also, I suppose you could say, well, fitness is probably good anyway. Like, hopefully, I'll live longer. There we go.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I'll outlive the haters.
Yeah.
That'll show them.
Yeah.
He's playing the long game.
I'm playing the long game. Yeah. So I don't know. It's a weird one, isn't it? I like to be very honest on social media. So like,
That's good.
I'm very transparent to people with like, I've had a hair transplant. People know that I've been doing a lot of fitness stuff, and I don't try to act like, oh, I just had a glow up one day. You know, I just sort of one day just woke up and I looked back. You know, like I've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't like on social media how that's hidden. I don't like how people pretend like they're not doing anything. So I've always tried to be honest. I think people respect and they like that about me.
Yeah.
That I'm not trying to lie to anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, we've segued perfectly into your newest single, right?
Right. Yeah. So
Which is very much on this topic.
Which is great.
yeah. I wrote a song with an artist called Ryan Nealon, who's incredibly talented, probably more talented than me, and he made a song which is all about male body dysmorphia, and I was like, that's such a great topic to write about, and a lot of men wouldn't write about that thing. So I said, can we please work on a song together? This is very personal to me, and I want to work with you on this. So over a few sessions we wrote this song. It came out pretty quickly, to be honest, in terms of the actual lyrics and stuff, and it was just like, it felt very personal that we could just get some very specific things in there. Like I talk about losing weight in there. I literally just talk about lowering my hairline in like having a transplant. So things where as an artist you're like, oh, I don't know if I should put that thing in there. It's not very relatable if I say that thing. Like instead I was like, no, I'm just going to put exactly what, and it's had a really great reaction because I think people were just like, oh yes, I feel the same.
Turns out it is relatable. Who knew?
Yeah, who knew? A lot of men have bad body images just as much as women, I think, but maybe don't always talk about it because it doesn't feel like a very masculine thing to talk about. Oh, we're worried about losing my hair and I'm worried about looking a bit chubbier or whatever. But like a lot of men do go through those things, myself included. So I wanted to write this song for anyone who can relate to that, I think.
And what's it called, Keian? It's
take what I can get.
Take what I can get.
Because there comes a point in the music industry where I was just doing anything, and I'll take what I can get, regardless of the consequences. But I'm maybe in a better mental state now that I realise I don't have to keep changing myself to please everyone. So I've tried to take the good sides of it. Like, okay, I acknowledge I've done these different changes to my appearance, but at the same time, I don't have to keep doing that because you can go down this dark rabbit hole where you're forever trying to change yourself. And so,
I mean, in the interest of honesty, I woke up this very morning feeling just terrible. Just like, some day you just wake up, you look in the mirror and you're just like, I just don't like what I'm seeing today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's really funny how today was the podcast that we were going to do, because I think it is an important topic that men need to speak about more.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you coming on and saying this, because it is, I guess it's just nice to know that everybody goes through it.
Yeah.
And I do think being fitter and working on yourself with a positive mental attitude is good. Obviously, not doing it purely to please the trolls online probably isn't the best way to go. But I do think overall, even if you just get a bit fitter, a bit healthier, and you start to look better, I just think you feel better in all aspects of life, not just in your online content.
Yeah, I think the big learning for me from all of this stuff is it's all got to come from within. Nobody can make you feel good or bad. Ultimately, you have to receive hate, receive love, and choose what to do with it. Like, the music industry could give you a tick and say, yes, you're aesthetically right for this project, or or they could be like, no, but the fact is, you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing for me, and the big conclusion from all this is like, I've tried to, I'm hopefully in a better state now, because I've learned maybe the hard way. It's a cautionary tale, guys. It's a cautionary tale. I've learned the hard way to embrace my, I don't have to take what I can get. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry, just going back to the song, I was like, how do I get the title in? You don't have to. You can just sort of make your own opinions up, really. And who cares what other people think, really, at the end of the day?
Absolutely.
It is refreshing to hear that, because I think, well, just like what you said, especially if you're in a relationship, so I don't know like how open you and Georgie are, for example, but it is almost like the stereotype that it's the woman that might need to be told, you look really nice today, or I like your outfit, your hair looks lovely, da da da. But actually it is so equal. It's just as much the other way.
Yeah. I do think I do think women have like, to an extent, like, much harder time in the music industry, just from talking to other artists.
The pressures.
Oh, really?
Because it's just like, there's a huge thing about age in the industry. There's a huge thing about like always looking aesthetically perfect. I think and the thing we're talking about is like men also feel that and have that as well. But I think we're all, regardless of gender or whatever, everyone's like having these thoughts. But it's just, people don't like to talk about it. Maybe now they are talking about it more. Maybe on social media it's becoming almost more authentic, to be honest.
Yeah.
Over time I've noticed it has shifted.
I feel like we're at a turning point. It's got to go one way or the other. Like, so the social media thing, it is so toxic, but actually we could take that, and more content creators, if they did choose to be as honest as you, for example, that it could actually have the opposite effect and help. I'm so glad that we didn't have it when we were younger, because
we had a very basic version of social media. Like, I was on MySpace, and Facebook was in its early days.
MSN
Messenger,
where you had a little avatar.
But you know why it was also so much easier back then is because you were all kind of you were all responsible for the stuff you say online. Like MSN Messenger was just you talking to your mates, basically like WhatsApp. Facebook, you couldn't have business profiles and all this stuff. It was all just yourself on social media. You couldn't have fake profiles, anything like that. Nowadays, you don't know who's who. That's the thing now. Anyone can say anything.
Or it's AI generated or tweaked.
Yeah. It's so true. No, thank you for being so sharing all of that as well, because that's.
Yeah.
I feel like, well, even you have probably you felt better probably about how.
I'm just sad that Shaun felt a bit bad this morning, because he's looking great today. No,
that's really what he was after, Keian.
Yeah, he was looking. Praise me.
There we go. Okay, now he's got the compliment. Let's move on.
You get out now.
I just thought it would have been inauthentic. Is that the word? Unauthentic?
Inauthentic. To not mention
it. Because
100%. Having
you being so honest, I was like, no, I can't just sit here and just not say it, because it would feel like I'm hiding something. And I feel in the spirit of honesty, we're all going through it.
Yes. Yeah.
We all have these thoughts, and be fitter, get healthier, just do it for you.
Preach.
Hello. It's good group therapy, isn't it?
It is.
And also we got to talk about the song, which is great.
Yeah.
Go and stream it. It is. I love it. We like to finish off our episodes by asking the big one, which you've probably guessed because it's what the podcast is called. What do you believe you were made for?
Ooh.
I told you it's a big one.
Everybody says that.
If we talk about, maybe I'll just waffle my way to. I try not to waffle too much, but music is like designed to make people feel something, right? Like just to feel anything. Mm-hmm. So I feel my purpose is to make stuff that makes people feel something. There you go. Because I think that I love writing songs. There's the other aspects of the music industry, which are great or not great, but I'll always be a happy pig in mud if I can just be on a piano singing and writing some songs. Like being in a studio is my absolute favourite place to be, like hermiting away. I do love playing live, but that would be always the element that I like. So I think making songs, making people feel something has way more impact than anything I've ever done, from writing a bit of code for a website to generate some more sales for someone. Like, because what's life really about is to experience things and to feel things, right? So if you're contributing to that, and I've had people message me and they've said, oh, your song really helped me or whatever. And to me, those little moments are just like, okay, well, it's worth doing it then, isn't it?
I love that. And actually, if you had like one golden nugget of piece of advice for someone listening who maybe is like, I kind of want to either start writing my own music, or I actually want to put content out there.
Yeah, or they're about to click share on that piece of content that they're apprehensive about.
Be consistent and be patient, because when as an example, the music challenges, the first one I posted got a couple hundred views or something before it started blowing up over time, but that's after I'd done like a lot of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that I don't know if it was just one you posted, you were like,
no,
it blew up.
The first one failed, second one failed, third, and it's just like maybe the 20th succeeded.
Oh wow.
So it's I just think, and the thing is, it's not just social media, like, and video, anything. If you just keep making something, you're forever going to get better at it. But don't expect the music industry fairy tale of overnight you'll just have success. It just doesn't exist. You just got to like plug away at something for like sometimes years at a time, and then it will eventually work, and it will be worth the payoff. But it's not going to happen like for 99% of people overnight. So just do what you love and do it consistently.
Yes. Clip that up.
Tie it up with a nice little bow. It's almost like he's been trained to do this.
Yeah. Guys, I only had a little bit of PR training, just a little bit.
And there you have it, everybody. Alto key. Loved that. What do you think?
Really, really enjoyable episode, especially for anyone looking for a career in music. I'm definitely going to be taking some tips from the way he does things online, for sure.
Yeah, really, really interesting. So I hope that helped a lot of you budding musicians and online personalities, or anybody that wants to go and make a career online. And that is it for this week's episode. So we will see you again next Wednesday. But until then, don't forget to follow us on all of our socials.
At whatwasimadeforpod.
And you can send us an email to
whatwasimadeforpod@gmail.com.
We will see you again next week when we once again try to answer the question,
What was I made for?
Bye.
So I moved to the city, lie about my